Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you've been watching the series, then you know we've basically been looking at the way that your wrists and arms should be working in a golf swing. In my belief, this is kind of the heart of a golf swing, is how the club is moved through the air by your hands and your wrists. And we've looked at how the wrist works in flexion and extension, and also how the wrist rotates with help of the lower arms in order to keep the club on plane. One of the things that people don't really talk about, however, is what we call ulnar and radial deviation, which is basically the bending up and down of the wrists during the swing. And similarly to the other parts of the swing, you will actually see tendencies with professionals in the ulnar and radial deviation, which they have and amateur golfers don't seem to have. So in order to better understand that, what we first want to do is exactly the same as last time, and we'll have a look at the video against the graphs that the hat motion gives us, so you have a better understanding of what's happening when and what you should be looking for.
So you can see at the start of the backswing how the bending down, the hinging down of the wrist, which is caused in the address position, actually increases, although my feeling is of hinging immediately in the wrists. It's more the arms which are picking up the club than the wrists, although I feel my hands are starting. And this is why you'll sometimes see something in the hat motion that you won't be able to catch on the video. This is quite okay, but again, you've got to see that my intention and also my conscious thought patterns would never think for a second that this is actually happening in the swing. And then it's first of all here around about probably thigh height that then the hinging of the wrist becomes really active and hinges all the way up. I mean, my feeling is really that they're completely hinged at chest height, but they're not. And it even increases after I've got to the point where I've got to the so-called top of the swing. The hinging continues. And the reason for this is that as the hands start down, as the arms start down, the inertia of the club, the weight of the club is resisting this and putting more pressure on the hinge than I could ever do by actively hinging. And that is actually keeping this hinge is being kept until this point in the downswing, and then starts to release. Another strange thing is at this point in the swing, when I'm actually increasing the hinge in the wrist, the radial deviation, it feels as if I'm releasing it. My feeling is if the golf club is now being kind of released into the corner of the room, kind of to the left side of the picture there, and it's nothing like what's actually happening. And again, this is this incredible deviation between, or discrepancy between my feel and real. I just don't feel this happening whatsoever. But the graph is showing me, and now obviously now it's releasing the wrist angle relatively sharply and going through down into almost, full deviation, or where I was in the address position at impact. You see, I've just hit the golf ball there, and my ulnar deviation is about identical to where it was at the beginning of the swing in the address position, but goes even further down through impact as the weight of the golf club is kind of pulling on it before then going back up into radial and reaching this kind of plateau of radial deviation here at the top of the swing. So if you want to really say, well, what is the amazing thing in the thing? I would say there's 2 points of interest. The first one is that despite my feeling of lifting, I'm not. So without a feeling of lifting, I'll probably get even more droop here. And despite my feeling of relaxing my wrists at the top of the swing, they are actually going into more deviation simply because of the pulling of the arms down on the golf club, and that is causing it. Although my feeling here is of releasing the wrist angle and allowing the club to lose this angle that everybody's trying to hold. And it's then here almost the hands, if you're looking from the front camera, almost at hip height across from my trail thigh when this massive release comes. So you're not only releasing the hands out of flexion, you're not only rotating at an extremely fast rate, you're also going into ulnar deviation at an extremely high rate of time. And this you can't see this on the video. It's just not possible.
So again, the main difference is the start of the downswing, that where an amateur is actually starting to go into more ulnar deviation, the professionals are actually increasing the amount of radial deviation they have as they start the downswing. The graph is continuing to actually go into radial deviation at the start of the downswing. And again, it's exactly the same problem. The amateur golfer is gripping the club too tightly and starting to drive the club and the hands down towards the golf ball far too early, rather than allowing the forces of nature and inertia to carry their arms back and the dropping of the arms and the golf club to actually automatically increase this radial deviation and this hinge in the wrist. It's not an actual active hinging, it's allowing it to happen so the club can drop behind you, which will give you far more chance of actually then going into a powerful movement through the ball. And at the same time as you come through impact, not holding on to the club and keeping that radial deviation, but allowing it to go back into ulnar deviation, the droop of the club to pull the club head down, allow the hands to come up a little bit. So in impact, they're slightly higher than they were at the address position before swinging through to a natural follow through. It's all about, as I've said in the past, getting a high proportion of passive movement into your golf swing. And this can only happen if you are allowing your wrist to hinge up and down without blocking it, but at the same time showing that you have got to do something, get the club up in the air in the first place. I hope this has helped you to better understand what's happening in your wrist. Next time I will show you or try to explain all three things at the same time so you have a better idea of what's really going on. Yes, if you liked it, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Big thank you as ever to all of my patrons for supporting the channel so nobly through the season. And if you'd like to become a patron yourself, I'll leave a link below to that. Until the next time, goodbye.